Hi, my name is Lauren Sapala, and today I am talking about the INFP creative process. Specifically, I'm talking about why INFPs struggle so much with writing schedules. This is something I get all the time from my INFP clients. INFPs tend to have this unconscious assumption that they are doing things wrong. The way they do things is not the way that the rest of society does things. So from a very early age, they sort of get programmed that they're weird or they're just doing things the wrong way. The thing is, INFPs do not work linearly. They do not go from A to B to C to D. They don't move down goal lists that way, to-do lists, task lists. INFPs instead tend to work in circles, and they like to work on a lot of different things at different times. So the thing about INFPs, because they have this circular motion to the creative process, because they have so many ideas at once, sometimes I say they're like a popcorn machine because they just have so many ideas going off in their brain. And because they like to work on different things at different times, they can start to feel like they're not getting anything done, like they're not productive enough. So when this happens, they tend to go to mainstream writing strategies and they try to double down on that. And one of the things is schedules. INFPs, every INFP I've ever met, they usually believe that if they could just get on a schedule, if they had a rigid enough routine, this discipline would come in and it would help them get things done. Then they would finish their stories, they would finish their projects, they might even work on one thing at one time. So the thing is, part of this is natural for the INFP. To work on many different things at once is natural for the INFP. To start things with a great deal of enthusiasm, kind of have that like burst, and then for it to taper off and then feel the ebb of it and leave it behind and move on to something new, that's also normal. They might come back in a few months, they might not. All of that is normal. What's not normal, what gets introduced into the INFP creative process that causes the problem, is too much discipline, too rigid of structure. So the thing about INFPs, and many INFPs believe this about themselves as well, they sort of have this reputation as being dreamy, floaty, really soft and warm and open people. And they are all of those things. INFPs are incredibly loving, compassionate people. I have a really good INFP friend, and we always joke that he's the whimsical INFP. We're in a mastermind group together and he does the scheduling. He's like, wow, I'm really good at scheduling even though I'm a whimsical INFP. So all of those things are true about the INFP. The other facet that is also very true for the INFP personality type is that they are an advocate. INFPs, their first function, the very first thing they do with their energy system, with their brain, with their thinking power, is introverted feeling. So they navigate the entire world, they interpret all information, and they learn, their approach to learning is how they feel, not how everyone else around them feels, although they can pick up on that very well, but how they feel about things in their heart. They use an emotional value system to make sense of the world. Because of that, they tend to have very, very strong moral compasses. INFPs are great at spotting corruption, hypocrisy, someone who's lying or being fake or phony in any way. An INFP can just cut through that bullshit like in a second. They see it and they don't like it. It really messes with their internal moral compass. It messes with that value system. They feel it acutely and they don't like it. INFPs, in my opinion, they are here to really work with people, to work with humanity, and to sort of bring everybody up to the next level. Like an INFP can look at a system, look at a group of people and say, you know, there's a lot of sort of like a rotten underbelly here, there's a lot of deception over there. We can clean this stuff up. This isn't right. This isn't good for us, and we can do better as people. That's what the INFP is so good at. They are natural born leaders in that department. Now, because they are that advocate, they have that advocate in them, they really want to help humanity, they're so good at spotting corruption. The thing is, they carry a certain archetype that goes along with that beautifully, and that's the rebel archetype. So many INFPs carry the rebel archetype, and they're usually shocked when I tell them this, because in their minds, they're sort of the quiet ones, or the ones who went along with everything in their family, the peacemaker, the mediator, so they don't often see themselves as rebels. But INFPs really are rebels. They're not afraid to change the system. They're not afraid to break out of the system. They're not afraid to do things that other people wouldn't do, because other people are afraid of being not conventional, not fitting in with the group. INFPs are not afraid of not fitting in with the group. If something doesn't jive with their moral compass, they will just leave it behind. So part of the rebel archetype is stubbornness. INFPs have a hefty, hefty dose of stubbornness. That stubbornness is a gift. Even though when we usually think of stubbornness, we think of it as not a gift. When you have the rebel archetype, you need it. It's that sort of vein of steel running through your beliefs. It helps you stand up for what you know is right, even if no one else around you can see it. So if you're an INFP, you have that rebel archetype in you, nothing's wrong with you, you have stubbornness in you, and you've probably, as I'm saying this, are thinking back, oh yeah, I remember when so-and-so really needed someone to stand up for them, I came in and I did that. I know every INFP has incidents in their life where they can remember when suddenly they were very assertive or they got very fiery about something. And it's usually something to do with social justice or somebody else being oppressed. That's when that rebel archetype is going to come out for INFPs. So in the creative process, how this works is when an INFP puts too rigid of a structure around their writing. So they're like, okay, I'm going to write every single day, no matter what. I'm going to get up in the morning. It's going to be the first thing I do. This is my schedule. They have good intentions because they're trying to keep themselves on track. But because they're so rigid about it and they have this, I can't miss a day, or I have to stick to it, it's a rule now, that rebel archetype comes out and says, oh, no, I don't like that. I'm going to break the rules. I'm going to kick back. And so suddenly they are self-sabotaging their routine, their new schedule, and they don't know why. And then they blame themselves. Like, I'm lazy, I'm not determined enough, I'm not persistent enough, I don't have what it takes to be a real writer. So the solution is, it's not to go crazy and even have a stricter schedule, and it's not to go in the opposite direction and have no schedule. What's going to work for an INFP best is if you have loose structure. So I was actually just emailing with an INFP friend of mine earlier, and he said he likes to think of his creativity as a river, and then the structure he puts around it, it's the river banks. So the river gets to flow and be turbulent or calm or whatever it is in reaction to the weather that day, but the river banks keep the water in, some sort of passageway, some sort of flow. The water's not just running all over the fields, like it is going in a direction, but it has a lot of room to be whatever it needs to be on that day. So that's what I really suggest for INFPs. Instead of saying, I have to write every day, aim to write 2 or 3 times a week and then see how it feels, or aim to write once a week on the weekends or whenever you have a day off and see how it feels. For an INFP, it's so important to check in with your heart and to check in with your emotional value system and say, how does that feel? Does it feel good to me to write in the morning? Does it feel good to me to write at night? Does it feel good for me to write once a week, once a month? It's going to be all experimentation, but you are going to find a discipline that will work for you. Another tidbit for INFP is that word discipline can be a really loaded word, especially if you carry the rebel archetype. Rebels hear discipline and they're like, oh, no, that's an authority figure. I don't want it. So maybe choose a different word. Become conscious of which words have which kinds of emotional charge for you. Discipline might be too much like military school. So you could try structure. You could try anything you want, framework, guidelines, anything that sounds better or feels better to you. In closing, I just want to say right now I am running a promotion. If you join my email list, you get a free ebook copy of Firefly Magic, Heart-Powered Marketing for Highly Sensitive Writers. It's my book that I wrote on marketing for INFJ and INFP writers. There's lots of good stuff in there. Stuff about money issues. I know I had gnarly money issues for years. Emotional blocks around marketing, putting yourself out there, feeling exposed, feeling overwhelmed and drained by social media. There's lots of good stuff in here. So please, the link is below the video. It's laurensapala.com/newsletter, and it's just signing up for my newsletter, and then you'll get that ebook copy straight to your inbox. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys next time.